Over the last 140 days, I wrote 105,000 words for my first novel. I tracked everything, every word, every day I took off, and every single time I changed the plot halfway through a chapter. I didn't use an outline, I just started writing. And what I found was a process that worked for me to finish my first draft and to be excited to continue on into revisions. Now, I've tried to write books before, and every time I started with an outline. There's nothing wrong with an outline, but each time I would get so caught up in whether the outline was perfect that I wouldn't even continue on after a chapter or two. And then it would fall apart before I even got a couple chapters onto the page. This time I knew I wanted to do it for real. No more stopping a little ways in. I wanted to complete an entire novel. And here I am about to dive into revisions. Along the way, I tracked it like the accountant that I am with a spreadsheet and charts. I want to show you exactly what I did and share 3 tools that allowed me to maintain momentum where previously I would drop off before I made any significant progress. The first tool I used was tracking, and I used this spreadsheet right here. Specifically, I logged every day, every word, and every chapter in this spreadsheet. I tracked the scenes here, and I tracked everything that I was doing. I have cleared some of this out just to avoid some spoilers. I noted how I was feeling in this column as well, and kind of where I anticipated the story was gonna go. And as you can see, it's quite extensive. It tracks every single day. I color-coded it so that I knew that I made my goal for that day or I didn't. And this also was an easy way to pick out how many days off I took. So as you can see, I started on May 30th, 2025, and we called it, too far. And we called it finished on October 20th. I actually finished the writing on October 17th. So that is 141 days, 42 days. In total, that accounted for about 120 days of writing and about 19 days off. Tracking allowed me to be consistent and to hold myself accountable, but not to the point where it was a burden. You can see up here that I started with a goal of 1,000 words a day, and I continued that on for about 40, 44, 45 days. When I first started, this was a lofty goal for me, and I wanted to set a lofty goal so that it was something that was real and something that I could really make a habit of, and not, just take a few minutes out of my day. I wanted to feel something a little bit with this and know that I was making progress. And you can see in that first 45 days, I got 48,000 words. That's almost half. So I really believe that that lofty goal helped me to really ingrain this habit and to really start this off on the right foot. Around day 45, I switched to 500 words. I was finding that the ideas weren't flowing as fast, and I was finding that I was getting discouraged if I missed and only had, 400 words or whatever, even if I had good ideas. So I decided to lower my goal to 500 and really work on the quality of the writing and make sure that I was getting down things that I wanted to stay in the final draft into that and not just getting words for words' sake. Both of these goals are lofty. They do take time. I have a job, I have a family, but I think that they're pretty reasonable, and they were things that I was able to fit into my day. Most of us have some time that we can set aside. It may just take sacrifice in another area of our life. If writing is something you want to do, I would encourage you to set aside a little bit of time. It might take a sacrifice of something else, but we make time for the things that are important. So we've gone into the deep dive of all of the words, what the goals were and all of that. Now let's get into a little bit more of the fun stuff. So as you can see, this graph here really illustrates that this was consistency. This was not big days of writing. Of course, there's a couple big jumps, but this was not mainly big days of writing. This was just consistently hitting that goal. You can see that it does taper off a little bit because I slowed down. Now, I think that the one that illustrates this even better is this one. So this is our cumulative words, same exact line, but down here in the red, you can see this is just consistency. We had a big day here, but I would say that most of the time this was just consistent, sitting down, hitting that goal, and showing up each day. At the end, of course, there was some times where I wanted to finish and I had the ideas flowing and I just kept that going. So you'll see some larger spikes here at the end, but that was the majority of this was from consistency. What you also don't see much is slumps here. Yeah, I had a couple times where I had maybe 1, 2, and 3 days in a row where I had to take a break, or even just single days of breaks here and there, but I didn't feel that I ever had a whole slump in the midsection like sometimes you see. And I would really attribute that to just actionable goals that you can stay consistent with on a day-to-day basis. Of course, I had those times when I had a couple days that I needed off, and that's okay. Let me say it again, that's okay, because I had to tell myself that every now and then. You need to give yourself time and your subconscious time sometimes to work something out. And it's not something that you should feel bad about if you have to take a break. Rather, it should be something that you say, I'm intentionally taking a break and I will pick this back up. When I did have these slumps, I would usually take a walk, take a bike ride, do something to get my brain off of it, let my subconscious take over, and it usually worked itself out. The last tool that I found really helpful was a weekly progress or check-in. For me, that was a weekly YouTube video that I decided to mix with reading progress. I enjoy sharing about reading and writing, so I mixed the two, and that serves as my weekly check-in. That gave me something I had to report to, and just kind of another layer of accountability. It certainly doesn't have to be a YouTube video. In fact, they're quite a bit of work. It could simply be a family member or a friend. Maybe even just a journal that's separate from your tracking that you reserve for weekly progress. Whatever it is, I promise those big milestones will be an encouragement to look back on. I look back on some of those weekly update videos, and it's cool to see where I am and where I came from, and it gives me a lot of motivation to move on into the revision process and to keep that momentum going through that. It even made all of the work for all those updates really worth it. So what did this process really teach me? What lessons do I hope to pass on in this video? Number 1, consistency beats clarity. The reason I was able to stay on course this time was because I was able to turn off that inner critic and just start writing, and just keep writing. The whole time I was writing with the goal of finishing, not necessarily for a polished product at the first draft. Revisions are where I'll get the clarity and the polished novel that I'm looking for. 2, rest days matter. Contrary to point number 1, you do have to take off time when you need it. Sometimes your subconscious just needs to do its thing. You need to turn off that frontal part of your brain and let your subconscious figure out where you're stuck. It's really likely that your story is in there and your brain is getting in the way. So you need to turn that off, take a walk, and see if it won't work itself out. Number 3, tracking keeps you honest. The numbers don't lie. And when I saw the lower numbered days stacking up, it really motivated me to get back into it, to stay consistent, not necessarily to jump in, write the perfect thing or 2,000 words, but to stay consistent and show up each day. When I was trying to perfect things at the beginning in the outlining, the only person I was robbing was myself, and the numbers helped me to step it up when I needed to. 4, discovery writing helped keep things exciting. Now, for me, writing this from a discovery standpoint, not having an outline on the front end, helped keep the story exciting, helped me wanting to know what was coming next. Sometime along the way, the story took a life of its own, and the discovery method really helped me to keep that exciting for myself. I'm not saying you shouldn't outline, and in full transparency, I'm now outlining to make sure that I have everything in there that I want, but it kept it exciting for me, and if you're struggling with that perfectionist mindset, that's what helped me, and I would encourage you to at least try it. And finally, revision is a must. Yes, discovery kept it exciting, but what I ended up with is several different books that I'm going to have to mesh together to make into the book that I see it to be now. Ultimately, revision is where the real work starts. And I expect this to be uncomfortable. I expect to have moments where I'm disappointed in my writing, and I think that I need that. I think that that's where art comes from these places of discomfort and these times when it's hard. I think that we need to sit in it and we need to invite it in those circumstances, and it'll make us better. It'll make us better at our craft and hopefully come out with art that you're proud of. I believe that reading and writing can convey some of the purest forms of empathy, and we cannot have that without sitting with that discomfort sometimes. I'm speaking to myself when I come back to this inevitably disappointed about things and revisions. So what's next? Well, I'm diving into revisions, and I'm going to use the tools and lessons that I learned here to leverage that into consistency, pacing, world building, story building, and all of the things that I want this novel to become. As I mentioned, right now I'm developing a detailed outline. I'm putting down everything that I had ideas for that maybe didn't make it to a chapter, or things that I don't feel like I detailed enough within the chapters that I have written. And so that detailed outline, I'm going to take a look at it and make sure that the things that I have and the things that I want end up meshing together. Now that I have that momentum, I'm going to organize every idea, twist, and character arc to make the novel that I've been dreaming of writing. Writing 105,000 words in 140 days has taught me more than any book or YouTube video has. It's made me realize that the way forward is through. I'll continue posting weekly updates with progress, because that is one of the things that helps me to maintain that consistency and momentum. And I'll continue to track my words and thoughts each day with that spreadsheet in a little bit of a different way, in a revision side of that. I'll also do another one of these videos when we get to the second draft. If that's interesting to you, or if this video has provided you with any value, subscribe and there'll be more on the way. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you soon.